A good Woche, everybody. Bava Kama Amud Beis. Yay. We are in the bottom of Amud Beis. Today's Amud is Zayin Amud Aleph, but this is a Gemara in which you have to know the Mishnah very, very well. You have to just get the Mishnah in your brain very well, etched in your brain. Once we have the Mishnah right, then the Gemara, which is going to twist the Mishnah 3 times over, will make a lot of sense to us. Basically, it's not a difficult Mishnah. The Mishnah is quite easy, but the Mishnah has many different ways of punctuating it and organizing and reorganizing the words of the Mishnah. But simple meaning of the words of the Mishnah are, as I said, simple. Says the Mishnah, the shiur Nishmas of Menachem ben Akiva, Ruth bas Shalom, Sila bas Metzion, Sol bas Moshe, Lofuas, the money that's falling down. Okay, says the Mishnah. Okay, good. Says the Mishnah, let's go. Tesvav based in the bottom. Chamisha tamin v'chamisha muadin. We saw it last week, we have to see it again. Basically, the Mishnah gives us a list of 15 different things, actually 16. There are 3 groups of items here. They are grouped into, I would say, 3 different lists. That's a Pashup Shat. And we start off with Chamisha Tamin v'Chamisha Muadin. We start off with 5 different behaviors, 5 different things to do with the animal damages that are tam, and 5 that are muad. Tam means that they only pay half, and muad means they pay a whole. Oh, by the way, before we even start, I owe you a tosfos from the previous year, from last week. Remember about the dog that eats the sheep that's twice his size, which is very abnormal, or the cat that's very daring, a little ketzele, little kitten, and it starts eating a whole rooster, and nobody knows why, and it's crazy. So it's hungry. When you're hungry, are you gonna kill a thing that's much bigger than you? You must be very, very hungry. So it's called Mishna. It's something very strange, very weird, out of line. So he said, according to Man de Omar, that Chatzi Nezek is Knas. Chatzi Nezek Knas, then this is considered as keren, even though the animal is going to enjoy the meat and it's shen, but the initial killing of the bigger animal is called keren because it's abnormal. And therefore, you have to pay how much? Half. And therefore, nowadays, we don't judge dinei knosos, it's bovel. And therefore, what? We say that it is, everyone okay in the peanut gallery? Good, thank you. Then we say that the knas is not paid nowadays. If you took it b'diavad, yes, but the you don't deal with dinei knas. Says the Tosfos, according to Man de Omar, that Chatzi Nezek Momoin. Chatzi Nezek Momoin, what does that mean? Really, it's quite normal for an animal to gore, right? And therefore, the Baalim should have expected it. He should have paid full price. We're being nice to him because of first and second time offense, and we say we reduce it to 50%. But really, it's Momoin. That's not how we paskin. That opinion says it's money with a reduction. According to that opinion, what would be with the rooster, with a kitten that ate the rooster that's much bigger? Says Tosfos, they won't pay anything, 0. Wow. Why? Because he says they're strange and they're strange. When a bull gores his friend, as we all know, that's not super strange. That's exactly what he says. That shvorim lav b'chezkas shimu. It's quite expected for the shore to be misbehaved. And therefore, it's not as normal as eating or, walking. But it's normal enough to be called, should have been ezek sholem. But when it comes to the small animal attacking a big animal that's so out of line, so crazy, that we say, no, that's so nuts, and therefore you don't have to pay anything because we're super unexpected. I prefer no questions on previous things, but is it very quick? Mishnah, says the Mishnah, Chamisha Tamin v'Chamisha Muadin. We're in the Mishnah to Vav Amud Beis, going back there. Habehema Eina Muedis. The first list is Behema Eina Muedis, things that behemoths usually don't do. Lo ligach. The behema does not normally ligach. Velo ligof, doesn't gore, doesn't push. Velo lishoch, and not to bite. Velo lirboitz, and not to crouch on purpose on big vessels. Velo livot, and not to kick. So l'chor, that's the first list of 5. And what is that? These are the Chamisha Tamin, 5 different behaviors of animals that are considered to be vicious and or abnormal, and therefore it's called tam. And you pay how much? Half or half, depends where you come from. Hashen, now comes the other list. of things of Muad, things you pay in full. A shein ezach, the shein, the tooth, mu'edes lechol esaroi lo. A shein is normally is expected to eat what? Something that is expected to be eaten, such as fruit and veggies. But if an animal eats your shoes or eats your garment, then it's considered as keren, and you pay half because it's crazy and it's doing something out of line, and that's considered as half. But if the shein eats something normal, that's considered as number one item in the list. I have to be very concentrated here on the details, yeah? The shein is eating, no questions till the end of the Mishnah, thank you. Ashen wedis lechol esaroilo, things that are suitable, that are edible, you pay full. Haregel muedis lishbo b'derech hilucha. Regel is muad, is expected to, what? To break things, and to trample, and lishbo means to break. As it walks along, it breaks things. When it walks down the street in the market, yeah, in the market is potter. If someone else's reshus, it's chayiv. Where are shen and regel chayiv, by the way, people? That's very, very important here to remember. We spoke of the first two tamim, shen and regel. Where, not when, where, when there are. Where do shen and regel have to pay full nizak? In the street or in the reshus yochid of the nizak? He got 10.3. Right, reshus yochid of the nizak. Yeah, ubir bizdeacher. V'shor muad, shor muad. If the shor gored 3 times, the shor bit 3 times, then it's normal by him. Then we know that he's a bad boy. Normal, and therefore he pays full. 3. Number 4. V'shor mazik b'rshus nizak. Shor mazik b'rshus nizak. What does that mean? A shor mazik that damaged in the domain of the nizak, also pays full. Even if it's keren, P, even if it's keren, still, and it's a first-time offense, but it was done in the domain, in the reshus of the nizak, he pays full. Who believes in that?
Pays full?
Yeah. Pshi, Rabbi Tarfon. Yeah, Pshi, starting the week right. Yeah. Rabbi Tarfon. So Lutzakar Mishnah follows the opinion of Rabbi Tarfon. By the way, the star of the show today will be Rabbi Tarfon. The entire discussion will be around Rabbi Tarfon's opinion of the fact that you have to pay a full nizak if you did, even if all you did was keren tama, as long as it was in the reshus of the nizak, of the damage, you have to pay in full. Seems to be like that's what our Mishnah is saying. Reshus and nizak. Number 5, which is always more the Adam Muad Loilom. Adam and Eve, also Eve and Adam, both of them. Yeah, Adam and Chava. A person, human being, who's a gadol, who's a normal person, is a pikeach. Anything he does, almost always, sometimes even while asleep, is chayiv, always full nezik. You can't say, oh, I'm sorry, I went crazy one time, one off. No first-time offense by human beings, and you have to pay in full. So these are the 5. So we have 5 tamim and 5 muadim. Five tamim, yeah, I was right. 5 tamim, 5 behaviors of a show that's going crazy, or other animals. And then you have 5 mu'adim. What are the 5 mu'adim? These are things that are what? Birshus ha-nizak. The shein is chai birshus ha-nizak. Regel chai birshus ha-nizak. And if the show gored, birshus ha-nizak, according to Rabbi Tarfon, then we say also he has to pay in full, and also the human being. Beautiful. Concludes the Mishnah with another list, which according to the current reading of the Mishnah is a new list. It's not part of the 5 and 5. Here comes a new list. We left the city and we're now going to the jungle. Somebody breeds animals in the jungle. He owns some animals, as Ev. Okay, Zev doesn't live in the jungle, doesn't make a difference, okay. Yeah, as Ev, the wolf, the Ari is the lion, the dove, the wolf. The Americans can tell us how vicious bear, I know those bear. Dove bear. Bears can get very vicious. Or Loleno Hasidic baby in the bungalow colony, very terrible. Yeah, no, it's not funny. You killed him. It's not funny. Yes. The bear attacked a baby that was in the stroller, a toddler, and he killed him. Yes, a few years ago. I read the whole thing about it a few times in the news. The dove, the namer, and the namer, the tiger, the bardelas. Bardelas, I felt so good for not knowing the bird. I know bardelas is modern Hebrew, but bardelas in Old Hebrew is a big debate what that means, by the way. The Gemara itself, the only animal the Gemara doesn't know what it means, is bardelas, and there will be a discussion. Maybe we'll get there today at the end of the shiur. Bardelas, maybe some kind of snake dafka, maybe a hyena. We'll see later. Nachosh, a serpent. Yeah, all of those are mu'odin. They are mu'odin. Yeah, don't tell me that my lion bit someone. Really? I didn't expect that. I didn't expect Leo, my cute little lion. Yeah, it was, the size of a lion. Yeah, he behaves like that. I didn't expect him to bite anybody. He behaves so nicely when he's in my back garden in California. How come he would do such a thing? No, you can't really say that. And your things, your animals that are really predators, and you breed them, they are muad, they are assumed to be vicious right from the start. However, Rabbi Loza says no. If they were trained, or as you say, domesticated, if they were trained from young age, they're not muad. They're not muad. If a lion is trained from young age and is considered to be friendly, we know such stories. Lozo says they're not muad, and therefore the first or second time you can still say that it was unexpected, and you are paying only half, according to Lozo. It's a machlokes. The nachash muad lo'ilom. The nachash is always muad. Nachash is an animal that cannot be trained to control itself. Bichlal. Nachash is the epitome of Yetzer Hara, Adam and Chava. We spoke about them today, and therefore the nachash is balgaiva. The Rishonim say. And therefore, en malasot ito, nothing can be done with him. He's muad lo'ilam lekula alma, even according to Rabbi, even if you think that he's tame. I'm not saying a case where he was taken when the venom was taken out, yeah. But let's say he has venom, so he's venomous and he can't be controlled. Okay, so that's the Mishnah. So we have 5 cases of tam, which are 5 behaviors of what? Of keren. Like the shore, goring the shore, kicking the shore, biting, which is not so normal for sure, semi-normal. Then, and how much does he pay for that? Half. Very good, half and half. Now we had the other 5 that are shen and regel. Where are they? B'shus hayochid. And we said shor mazik b'shus hayochid, which is keren b'shus hayochid. How much does he pay? According to Tarfon? Fool, didn't you realize the Mishnah is now contradicting itself? You fell into the pit. You guys yourself just said the stira. I'm reading it before the Gemara. I'm preempting the Gemara. At the beginning, when we listed, we assume that the Mishnah is talking, we can argue on that, but the first assumption is that the Mishnah talks about one scenario, one place. Yeah, in one place. Where is this place? Well, B'shus hayochid. Why? Because Shem v'regel only B'shus hayochid are chayiv. That's agreed upon everyone. That's min haTorah. The Shem v'regel B'shus hayochid is potur. So make up your mind. You're saying that the Shem v'regel B'shus hayochid are chayiv. So our Mishnah talks in B'shus hayochid. Okay, if it's B'shus hayochid, and later on we say, according to Rabbi Tarfon, we say you pay full for keren because it's B'shus hayochid. But the first part of the Mishnah spoke about paying half by keren in B'shus hayochid. That's not true. Rabbi Tarfon says you pay full, not half. So the beginning of the Mishnah spoke according to Chachamim. Let's just revise and refresh our memories. It's a machlokes between Chachamim and Rabbi Tarfon. That's the first clean slate over here. Chachamim say what we always knew, that a tam always pays half nizak, regardless of where it takes place. Okay? And Rabbi Tarfon says, B'shus nizak, in the domain of the nizak, he pays how much? He pays full. The Mishnah contradicts itself. At the beginning, we say that you pay in full, and then we say you pay half. And we didn't make any difference regarding the location. The location was always in B'shus hayochid of the nizak, l'chen v'regel. So therefore, the Gemara is going to have a problem now, and I'm going to read it inside. First of all, I want to hear your question. Jeff, you had a question or no? Okay. Says the Heilige Gemara, I'm sorry that I can't get the thing to work. Okay. Says the Gemara, Midik Tani, Hashen mu'edes lechol. We say in the Mishnah that the Shen is muad to eat. The Shen is expected to eat. Animals like to eat, It's not abnormal. And therefore you pay full right from the start. Michlal, that is to say, the b'chotzon nizak askinan. Must be we're talking here in the place of the nizak. Because in Roshus Harabim, what do we say? Potu, right? Shen is only chai b'chotzer ha nizak. B'ktani. And yet we see, at the very beginning when we spoke about the first 5 of the Mishnah, the 5 stars, are all the weird behaviors, and we say, you don't pay in full, only half. You only pay half. Mani, who's that? First wide line. Who is the author of such an idea that for keren, in chotzer hanizak, and it must be chotzer hanizak because of Shane, who says you only pay half? Rabannan. Rabannan, the mainstream regular opinion, anybody except for Rabbi Tarfon, as far as we know, they say you pay half. Okay, it's Rabannan the Amri, because they say, Mishuna keren b'chotzer nizak, a Mishuna keren, a crazy kind of keren, meaning keren unexpected and weird in the chotzer nizak, chatzinezek kudem mishalem, he pays only half. Okay, that's good. The beginning goes with Rabannan. Ema Seifa. Continue to read the Mishnah, please. Ema Seifa. Tell us about the Seifa. Read the Seifa. What does the Seifa say? Shor Muad. The Shor Muad is one that pays in full, because we already did it 3 times. The Shor Mazik B'Rshus Nizak. Please highlight that in red. Shor Mazik B'Rshus Nizak is what? A Shor Mazik which obviously not Muad. A regular Shor Mazik tam. As long as it's done in the domain of the nizak, what about it? That belongs to the list of mu'adim, who pay in full. V'ha'odom, just like the person also is odom od loilom, also Rabbi Tarfon. That, now we're singing a new song, that goes according to Rabbi Tarfon. Why? The Omar, Mishuna keren b'chotzer nizak, there's a ksholem who the mishalem. Rabbi Tarfon said otherwise. He said a keren in the field, in the domain of the nizak, you pay in full. Why? We'll see later, because he's learning a Kal V'chomer. Discuss it later. But Lamaisa Rabbi Tarfon says you pay in full. Reisha Rabbanon, the Sefer Rabbi Tarfon, boom, bang, bang. Reisha goes according to Rabbanon, because you told me in the Reisha, yeah, you have 5 tamim, you have 5 different types of behavior that you only pay half. That's what tam means, paying half. And what we're talking, we're talking Shus nizak, just like Shen V'regel and the rest of the Mishnah. And at the end of the Mishnah, all of a sudden you're singing a new song. You're telling me that tam, b'chotzer ha nizak, pays full like Rabbi Tarfon. What's going on over here? Yeah, that's a question. Okay, good. How does the Mishnah, who's the Mishnah following? Starts with Rabbanan, finishes with Rabbi Tarfon. The Mishnah is the Mishnah, they get to know him. It's not a politician who says this and then does that. Yeah, this is the Mishnah, not the Knesset. Answers the Gemara in yes, no problem. That's answer number 1 is no problem. The Mishnah does not have to be consistent or homogenic. No. The Amar Shmuel, and we saw this a few days ago, exactly the same words. The Amar Shmuel, Rav Yehuda. Shmuel is a very early Amoira. He's like a Tana, according to some Rishonim. Shmuel had the level of a Tana, like Rav, according to some. And he's addressing his Talmud Rav Yehuda, and he says, don't worry, my friend. Shinena. What's Shinena? Sharp one. Sharp one, which is smart, yeah. You, Mishunan. Mishunan is Shinantom, sharpen, yeah? You, the sharp one, Shvoik Masnisin, leave the Mishnah alone. V'sa abasoy, come with me. Which means don't sweat over it. Don't try to make the Mishnah sound logical and every single word of the Mishnah has to be consistent. No, follow me. I know how to break down the Mishnah. Reisha Rabbanon, Sefer Rabbi Tarfon. Reisha Rabbanon, Sefer Rabbi Tarfon. My interpretation of the Mishnah is that the Mishnah is a collection of different opinions, and even two different opinions can even exist in the same Mishnah. So nice, pluralistic coexistence. Where's Rabbi, whoever? Yeah, in other words, the Mishnah tolerates different opinions. It's not like we're talking different cases. At the beginning, we followed Rabbanan, who said you only pay half. At the end, we follow Rabbi Tarfon, and we bring you different opinions, and everybody loves everybody, and it's all nice. That's Shmuel's philosophy on life. That's the easy answer number 1. We're going to have 3 other answers. 2 will be shlugged up and 1 will survive. Hashem. But right now we say it's not a problem. If the Mishnah starts with X and finishes with Y, it's all hunky dory. Question time. Yeah. Drink out. Answer number 2. Omar, he says the following. Kula Rabbi Tarfon he. The entire Mishnah, I can explain to you the Mishnah very well in a way that will be very consistent. The entire Mishnah is Rabbi Tarfon. Now, what was the problem with Rabbi Tarfon in the Mishnah? The first part, right? Because the very, very first words in the Mishnah were saying what? This is Reshus HaYochid, and you only pay half. True? How could that be? According to Rabbi Tarfon, that's wrong. You can't say half nizak in Reshus HaNizak. And the Mishnah seems to be in the arena of the Reshus HaNizak, and yet you said at the beginning 5 tamim, only half price for kicking, goring, and going crazy and biting. How could you say that's Rabbi Tarfon? Wait and see. There's something coming up out of the sleeve. Remember, before we continue, remember all the cute mixes and matches, the combinations? Remember that sometimes the Rishus can be Rishus HaYochid for one thing and not for the other? Remember the bull in the Waldorf Astoria? So nice, right? In other words, for certain things, the place can be Rishus HaRabim, for other things, Rishus HaYochid. Let's say for Shane, it's Rishus HaYochid. Remember? Let's say all the merchants can put the merchandise in the hotel lobby. They have an exhibition in the lobby. Very nice, mechubed, all in velvet surfaces, yeah? And now for Shane, it's Rishus HaRabim, because everyone can do it, right? So you bought it from Shane, and no dogs are allowed, and no bulls are allowed. So for Keren, it's Rishus HaYochid, which that makes a difference for Rabbi Tarfon. We have all kinds of combinations. Now we'll see a combination like that. Says the Gemara, Reisha, you know what the Reisha is talking about? This is a place where there are partners. Only one of them has the right to place his fruit over there. And therefore, regarding Shane, what is it? Only he's allowed to put fruit, nobody else in the world. It's a sort of common place. But fruit, he has exclusivity over fruit presentation over there. Okay? His own fruit shop, let's say. For fruit purposes, it's only his. So regarding Shane, it's private. So how much would a beima be chayv on Shane? Of course, nizak shalom, chayv on Shane. But it's a place where both of them can bring in their bulls, even other people too. Yeah, it's a grocery store and all dogs are allowed. All cows are allowed, like in India. Everybody can bring the shvarim in. So now we understand. Look what the Gemara says. Regarding Shen, it's exclusive, it's private, it's considered to be only chotzer nizak, and therefore chayv on Shen. Right? You thought that this is Rishus HaYochid because we saw Shen and Regel are chayev. Shen v'regel chayev Rishus HaYochid. We say no, it's a semi Rishus HaYochid. For Shen v'regel, it's chotzer nizak, and therefore he has to pay him. If his animal, Reuven's animal, ate Shimon's fruit, and it's only for fruit purposes, it's only Shimon's. For fruit, it's private Shimon, and you have to pay Shimon for your animal ate from Shimon's fruit. Full price. Shen is always full. There's never half Shen. Keren, that's exactly what I told you before. A keren, it's a Rishus HaRabim, because this place is officially bull welcome. How do you say? No, bull friendly. That's what I meant. Bull friendly area. All the bulls can just feel themselves and feel at home. Yeah. So it's run by bullsrights.com from California. No, nobody judges the bulls for who they are. The kids, so the bulls can roam around free. Mimela what? Mimela those bulls, it's Rishus HaRabim. For bulls, it's Rishus HaRabim. If it's Rishus HaRabim, even Rabbi Tarfon, who's Machmir, of course, would say Chetzi Nezik. On Rishus HaNizak, he said a fool. But this is Rishus HaRabim because everyone has permission to bring the bulls there. So for that, it's Rishus HaRabim. Mimela, very good. It's not a stira. We found such a nice solution that really our Mishnah talks about a half-half place, and really it's Rishus. And therefore, later on, when we speak about keren, what kind of keren, which is chayv nezek shalem, that talks about a full Rishus HaYochid. That's a seifa. When the seifa said that you have Rishus HaYochid is chayv and goring full nezek, that is a place where not all bulls are allowed, just a private domain of Shimon, which is completely private. But Lamaisa, this is consistently Rabbi Tarfon. That's all. At the beginning is a place where all bulls are allowed. The second case is only the owner's bull is allowed in his own home, his own turf, and therefore, but Lamaisa, it's all Rabbi Tarfon through and through, and no problem. Such a nice solution. It's so sad that the Gemara is going to now reject it and delete it. Why? The Gemara is now going to delete that solution. I said that sugya to Rav Zvid ben Ardo, and he told me there's a problem here. Something in the equation doesn't work right. Me matzis, what matzis? Matzis. Can you? How can? Matzis is can. C-A-N. Me matzis mukmas lakulak Rabbi Tarfon. Can you actually mukmi explain the whole Mishnah to be Rabbi Tarfonized? Is that so? Haktani, be medak at the beginning of the Mishnah. Hashem mu'edes lechol esaroi lo. It says we're talking about a domain where the Shen is only chayv nezek shalem, as Shen would be, like you said, if it eats something suitable for it, something edible, something normally eaten by animals. What does that mean to say? Continues the Gemara. If it ate, the animal likes to eat corn, wheat, barley, then it's normal. Shusa nizak for fruit. It ate the fruit or vegetables or cereals of the nizak, pays in full. But there's a red herring here. She'en roi loloi. Must be what? Let's say it ate the shoes. Ate the kelim. Yeah, I'm not making fun of you. You're right. Yeah, he ate the dress of the Baal Sabayit. It ate something not normal. Then he doesn't pay shen. But how much would he pay? Half. Otherwise, there's no diuk. You know when you pay shen, which is full, when he ate something normal. If he ate something abnormal, he only pays half. That already doesn't make sense. Rabbi Tarfon, according to Rabbi Tarfon, that's not true. Ha'omar, Rabbi Tarfon said, Mishuna keren b'chotzon nizak nizak shalem mishalem. Since we are talking about Rishus HaYochid, one extent or the other, and we're talking about Rishus HaYochid, and if you do something crazy, like eating the shoes or eating the kelim or eating the dress, according to Rabbi Tarfon, you should pay in Rishus HaNizak nizak shalem. Because even if it's keren and very abnormal, he doesn't care about abnormal in the Rishus of the nizak. And therefore, it does make sense. Because shen is denoting here, there's a diuk that if you would be crazy, it wouldn't be muad, it would be tam, would be half. Elaloilam. Okay, that's already the new answer. So reject it. So now the answer that says that this is Rabbi Tarfon, that doesn't work for us. We're now trying to find another solution. So how many solutions did we have so far? We have Shmuel. Shmuel says, I'm not looking for solutions because I have no problem. I don't think the Mishnah has to be consistent. The ratios are Rabbi Tarfon. And how much do you, excuse me. The ratio is Rabannan. That's how the ratio started off with a five-star hotel. Negicha, Negifa, Neshicha, Revitza, Be'eta, na, Rav. Negicha, Neshicha, Revitza, Be'eta. Remember, na, Rav. Yeah, that's the 5 Nezikin. And that's how much do you pay? Only half. Why only half? Rabannan say only half in Rishus HaNizak. Rabbi Tarfon, what does he say? He's appearing later on. He steps into the stage later on, and he says you pay full nizak. That's Shmuel. The other attempt to answer was the second one, and that was Rabbi Lozo Mishmei Derav, and he wanted to say the entire Mishnah is Rabbi Tarfon, and the Reisha talks about a case in which it's exclusive for fruit, but inclusive for all shvorim, and that's why it works with the Rabbi Tarfon to say you pay half because of Rishus Harabim for the keren, but we rejected it. So now we're on to another attempt, to the third attempt to answer. Says now the Gemara, no, ela loilam Rabbanon hi. This is Rabbanon hi. I'm trying to do something here on the computer. Now we want to say it's Rabannan. We may need Rashi in the next few. Okay, let's continue now. This is Rabannan. This is how we should read the Mishnah. Now listen nice and slow and carefully. There are 5 tamim. Okay, which are the 5 tamim? The 5 crazy behaviors of the animal, or vicious behavior. And those 5, if they are the very, very same 5, if it happened more than twice, they become mu'adin. Okay? Look at Rashi, and Rashi explains like this. Rashi says, Rashi gives us a very, very important information over here. Look at Rashi, the Bamaschil, Ve'im hu'odu chamishtan. I'm going to move here. I'm sorry that I have computer issues. Yeah. Look at Rashi, about 6, 7, 8 lines from the beginning of the narrow lines. Highly recommend to see the Rashi. The Bamaschil, Ve'im hu'odu chamishtan mu'odin b'uchatah. Da'anu dektani chamisha mu'odin. Get that? We have a completely different way of organizing the Mishnah. How did the Mishnah start? That there are 5 tamim and 5 muadim. Says the Gemara now, you know which are the 5 tamim and 5 muadim? Exactly the same ones. The 5 crazies at the beginning, when it's first, the second time, they are tam. And if it happened 3 times, then they're muad. And that's the end of the list. And everything mentioned later on is not part of that list. And that's going to make a difference. Look further in Rashi. Yeah? The 5 muadim are the same thing when it happened 3 times. Now, later on, the Mishnah goes into all kinds of other muadim, like the shen, regel, the normal behaviors. They're not part of the number, meaning they don't belong to the title 5 and 5. No, they're not part of the list of 5. This is what it means. It's a new statement altogether. Shen and regel are not muad because 3 times they were warned. They're muad right from the start. All the other things, show muad, mazik b'rshus nizak, the one that has to pay in full, which means, basically, as we'll see in the Gemara, when we say that show hamazik b'rshus nizak, we don't mean to say that he pays in full. In other words, let me say that the one line which I think will clarify it for you. We all the time assumed that the end of the Mishnah that said, or the middle, towards the end of the Mishnah, when we said, Shor Mazik B'Shus Nizak, that belongs to the family of Muadim, right? We thought that the list of Muadim includes Shor Mazik B'Shus Nizak. If this happened in my domain, says the nizak, by me there's no half nizak, says Rabbi Tarfon, you have to pay in full. It's not what the Mishnah said. You thought the Mishnah is saying that. That's not true. The Mishnah never titled the case of Shor Muad B'Shus Nizak, Mazik B'Shus Nizak, to be saying that this is full nizak. It's Stam telling you the location, that is Chai B'Shus Nizak, that's all, but this is not Rabbi Tarfon with his agenda of paying full. You thought that it's Rabbi Tarfon because you thought that these items, Odom and all including Mazik B'Shus Nizak, is part of the 5 Muadim. That's not true. Muadim doesn't apply to it. So your whole notion that Rabbi Tarfon is in the Mishnah is wrong. Rabbi Tarfon never made it to the Mishnah. See it now in the Gemara. You can see that I'm not sure you understand what's going on. The Mishnah, let's go back to the Gemara, excuse me. The Gemara will explain it much better. Look at it. This is what the Mishnah says. There are 5 tamim, punto, finished. You know what I meant? 5 muadim, the very same ones. Nekuda, full stop. End of story. We're not talking anymore about Nezek Sholem. We're not mechuyev now to connect any one of the further mentioned items to Nezek Sholem. Now we have a new list. Nothing to do with the title of the Mishnah 5 and 5. Comes a whole new list. V'shen v'regel muadin mitchiloson. It happens to be true. The shen v'regel pay full. That's true. V'echanadoson b'chotzon nizak. You know where it takes place. The shen v'regel shor hamazik b'rshus nizak. That's all. Nobody spoke about keren. Nobody spoke about Rabbi Tarfon. So calm down. Nobody mentioned Rabbi Tarfon at all. When we said Shor Mazik B'Shus Nizak, it talks about Shen V'Regel, that are Chayiv in full, in Chatzor Nizak, like each and every person here knows and already has been known for the past month. That's all. Rabbi Tarfon is out of the Mishnah. Kamarnu. Don't worry, baby. All is well. And therefore, the entire Mishnah is Rabbannan. Rabbannan say 5 tamim, 5 muadim. You always stay half for keren, regardless where you are. Rabbi Tarfon is out of our Mishnah. It's mentioned later on in the Mishnah, but not by us. Maski for Ravina. Now comes Ravina with an atkafta, with an attack. And he says like this. He claims, we'll see now, later on, when we will talk at the end of Perek Sheni, somewhere in Perek Sheni, there finally the Mishnah will mention outright, black and white, Machlokas of Tarfon and Rabbanan. And there it says, Shor Mazik B'Shus Nizak Keitzad. The Mishnah over there says, how is it exactly? How is it? In other words, the Mishnah there is explaining our Mishnah. Remember that there's one motto throughout our first parak. The first parak Mishnayos are all an introduction to the later Mishnayos. We see it all the time. One Mishnah is introduction to the other, and some of them are introducing Mishnayos later on. This is a very good example. It says here later on, it says in Daf Chavdaled Amud Beis. If you want, you can flip with me. If not, not. In Daf Chavdaled Amud Beis, it says here, Keitzad. The whole second parak is Keitzad. I mean, how? How is it practically happening? What's the practical application to all kinds of things we mentioned in the first parak? And at the end of Chavdaled Amud Beis, it says, Shor Mazik B'Rshus Nizak Keitzad. quoting our Mishnah, quoting word for word verbatim our Mishnah that said shor mazik b'rshus nizak, and the Gemara wants to elaborate. No, how does it come to practice? Tell me how the cash goes. And the Mishnah says nogach nosha chovetz bat, all the crazy stuff. B'rshus harabi mishal chatzi nezek. If it was done in the public domain, it's half. B'rshus nizak, if it happened in the nizak's domain, then Rabbi Tarfon amar nezek sholem v'chovim chatzi nezek. Mazel tov. The machlokes of Tarfon and Rabannan is mentioned over there and is clearly connected to our Mishnah. The Mishnah says, the Mishnah Mamish copied and pasted part of our Mishnah and had the whole story of Tarfon and Rabannan dancing around, mechlokesing on this very case. So must be Rabbi Tarfon and Rabannan are mentioned in our Mishnah. You can't take Rabbi Tarfon from our Mishnah. Get that? Because the Mishnah later on quotes our Mishnah and then says Rabbi Tarfon and Rabannan are arguing. So of course he is yes mentioned by us. Not mentioned outright. It's like a seed in a tree. If you see that the tree has, I don't know, apples, you know that the seed had an apple. Our Mishnah is like the seed of the next Mishnah. Yeah, shor mazik b'rshus nizak. This seed was thrown into the ground there, and here bloomed Rabbi Tarfon and Rabannan. So must be they are arguing here. Don't tell me Rabbi Tarfon is not in our Mishnah. Look at the Gemara says it better than me. Matzki flovina haktani. The line starts with the word ha, a aleph. Haktani lekamon. We see later on in the Mishnah, shor mazik b'rshus nizak keitzad, and we start off with Rabbi Tarfon and Rabannan. If they talk about it, they're in the parsha. Rabbi Tarfon and Rabannan are arguing over here. That's why it says keitzad. Makes a lot of sense. We mentioned like I explained, keitzad means how is that? We continue the line. They had an argument, and now they elaborate on it. My keitzad. But if Rabbi Tarfon and Rabannan are not here, in other words, an exclusively 100% pure Rabannan Mishnah, and not Rabbi Tarfon, how can you say keitzad? And all of a sudden, where did Rabbi Tarfon hail from? All of a sudden, here we come to the final answer, guys. The final answer, Baruch Hashem. The magic words, our Mishnah was missing some words. Now all will be well, Be'ezras Hashem. How does our Mishnah work now? Chamisha tamim hen. We're now reading the Mishnah in a whole different light, just punctuating and dissecting the Mishnah in a different way. Be'ezras Hashem, all will be well. Chamisha tamim hen. We start off like we said before. You know what's a 5 and 5? The Mishnah would call it the 5-5 Mishnah. Chamisha tamim are, you know who they are, the 5 crazy stuff of the shore, and the very same ones. If they happen too often, then it's a shore's nature, and now we know for him it's normal, and you should take care of your shore and pay in full. That's 5 and 5, tamim and muadin. Now comes the new list. V'shem v'regel muadin mitchiloson. Shem v'regel are muad right from the start, right? Very good. And that's not part of the 5 and 5. It's all new thing. Shem regel. Don't tell me I didn't expect Manuel to eat or walk. Cute. They're muad right from the start and they pay in full. V'zeu shor hamuad, and that's shor hamuad. Shor muad means shor muad is not a new item. You know who shor hamuad is? Either the 5 muadim that became muad, the 5. That's one mentioned in the parsha, and you have also shem v'regel. Now comes a new question, a new machlokes in the Mishnah. The shor mazik b'rshus nizak, machlokes Rabbi Tarfon v'Rabannan. That's it. Shor mazik b'rshus nizak is not part of the 5. Shor mazik b'rshus. This is, by the way, very similar to the previous teretz. We basically say 5 and 5, geendikt. We finish the list. Gamarnu. Now, mazik b'rshus nizak is a machlokes. It's not exclusive Rabbi Tarfon, not exclusive Rabannan. Nobody has exclusivity over here. Machlokes, legitimate. And now we know why the Mishnah later on explained keitzad. Very good, actually. Our Mishnah just threw the seed, threw the idea of what happens when there's keren in someone else's field. It's a question. It's a machlokes. Exactly how the machlokes works, we'll see in the next Mishnah, in a few Mishnahs from now. I even allow questions now. Let me just finish the line 1 second. Continues the Gemara to explain the Mishnah, finish off the Mishnah. And there are other muadim too. Here comes the third list of other muadim, the real crazy ones, the predators, all different, actually 6 different predators I assume other predators as well. Don't expect them to be domesticated. And now we're going to see a brisa that supports it, but I'll allow you to ask your question, and then we'll see a supportive brisa. And then I'll ask the brisa that supports what we just said. Tanya Nami Hachi, a brisa that supports the last and correct reading of the Mishnah. Chamisha Tamim Hen. There are 5 animals which are tam. Does everyone agree? Listen carefully to my words. Do both Rabbi Tarfon and Rabbanan agree? This is addressing you, Shlomo. Do both Rabbanan and Rabbi Tarfon agree that tam sometimes pays half nizak? Yes. The question is where? Rabbi Tarfon also agrees that Rishus Harabim he pays half. Only in Rishus Nizak he pays full. So that's why, Shlomo, the beginning of the Mishnah is generally okay with everyone. We're not talking about domains, we're being very parav. We're talking in general. There are 5 behaviors which are tam. It's before in the Torah, by the way. Rabbi Tarfon is not Rebbe Chashon. He doesn't argue in the Torah. Yeah? And therefore, the Torah says it's paying half. Right? How you define it is a question, and where and what and when. It's just a general concept. The 5 behaviors which are crazy, and it's tam, somewhere, somewhat, somehow. That's in general. Muadin, and if they became muad, I didn't know I was going to do it. It's a 3rd time, mister. It's a 3rd time, lady. Your dog is biting my kid. You know, if you didn't expect it, it's a 3rd time. Pay full, mister. Yeah, or missus. That's it, yeah? The shen v'regel muadin mitchuloson. Shen v'regel are right from the start, muad. Shen v'regel to eat in order to enjoy, or stam mitchiloson to walk right from the start. Or muad inoshus rabim only lekulam. Everyone is agreement. That's called shor muad, which means he pays in full. Now the shor mazik b'rshus nizak, meaning keren, crazy stuff happening for the 1st or 2nd time in the domain of the nizak. That's a machlokes of Tarfon v'Rabbanan. That's a disagreement. There are other mu'adim who are similar to what? To the tam. What's tam by show or regular home dog, homegrown dog, which for them is considered as tam, to bite is not so normal, let's say, for the regular dog, who's not considered as the biting one. So for the predators is normal right from the start. Who are they? Azev, the wolf, the ari, the lion, the dove, the bear, vanomer, the tiger, Bardalas, the anonymous Bardalas, the mysterious Bardalas, the Anochash, the snake. Some people say there's another version of the Gemara that gets to the same result in a different way of Ramu Mirma. What's Rami in the Gemara? Rami Levi? Yishapin Rami Levi? He should pay us. It's a question. What kind of question? What kind of question? It's a what? A stira. Punto, your wife's going to get a note. Very good, yeah? Yeah, it's a stira between 2 Mishnayos or 2 Psukim or 2 Almoira. Stira from the same level. Ramul Amirma, some people ask the same discussion begins with a question, begins with a stira, which means, Tnan, we start off with a stira. One Mishnah says, Chamisha Tamim and Chamisha Muadim. The 2 Leika. In other words, we know that there are 5 Tamim, 5 Muadim, and that's it. Aren't there any more? In other words, we have 6 animals that are muad right from the start, and then they don't have to wait for 3 times, and there are more muadim, not only 5. The answer is, you didn't learn the entire Mishnah. You have to learn Bava Kama to Amud Yomi, you learn Bava Kama to Bava Amud Beis, and you'll get the answer. Chamisha Tamim Hen. V'mu'adu chamishan mu'adin. There are 5 mu'adim, there are 5 tamim, which, if they repeat themselves too much, they become mu'adin. That's that kind of the domestic animals. It has to happen more than once or twice in order that we decide it's their nature. The shen v'regel mu'adin mitchloson, shen v'regel right from the start. V'zeh shor mu'ad. V'shor mazik b'shor nizak machlokes Rabbi Tarfon v'Rabbanan. A goring show in the Rishus for the first time in the Rishus of the damaged party. How is chayv how much? Depends who you follow. Rabbi Tarfon says full, Rabbanan say half. We follow Rabbanan, by the way. L'aloch l'maisa is Rabbanan. Rabbi Tarfon is das yochid. If your dog goes to someone else's Rishus, your cute little poodle never harms a fly, and for the first time in its life, it bites the neighbor's cat and harms it, it goes to his Rishus. Rabbi Tarfon says pay in full. With passing on Rabannan, you pay half. Okay? And the other muadim which are out of the story, meaning because they are right from the start. They are muad right from when they're born. A lion, the most innocent, beautiful lion, the cute little lion, right away starts once he can, once he's able to teenager starts biting. That's normal being. It's not abnormal. Who are they? The ganze jungle or the whatever, American wasteland. They are considered to be more than right from the start. Okay, good. By the way, I say something, sometimes I say things offhandedly, and I have to correct myself. When an animal bites or gores 3 times, why is it really, it's not so much a sugya, but I know that I say it b'derech agav, and I don't like it when I say things too quickly. The show that gored once, and then twice, and then third time. Why is it really that on the 3rd time we say that it's different? Did he become a different animal? Did he develop bad character?
It's a taste.
Does he get a taste for it?
In other words,
Or it's a chazaka, which means what? That it shows us he was always like that. Let's say you visit your friend's house. I'll give you a very politically incorrect example. You're not going to like it. You go to someone's house and you know him to be a very nice guy in shul and in kollel and everywhere. And you see him one time, you go to his house unexpectedly and you hear him screaming at his family. He's screaming at his family. So would you say that he's a bad person? Maybe he had a bad day. He doesn't have bad midos. Bad day, maybe they really drove him crazy to a point that, okay, one time. You go another time. That once was the morning. Maybe morning's a bad time and he's rushing to work. Then you see him in the evening screaming again. A different setting, different kids, different settings, different. It's Yom Tov. It's different. I'm still screaming. Second time, maybe Yom Tov gets him agitated. These two connected. I don't know. Third time, you see him in Tzimmerim in Switzerland. You don't know. Supposed to be relaxed without his family, screaming at the waiters. Was meant. You probably know that first time he doesn't reflect his nature. Second time, maybe not. 3 times, I'm not saying you're wrong, Yitzchok, but I'm giving another option possible, which is a chakira, but a stipler. The other pshat is he was always like that, you just didn't know it. You didn't know that your friend who's in kollel is the nicest, most civil person. You didn't know that he's really how do you say, a keg of whatever, is an explosive. What? Yeah.
Well, he
He doesn't. A simon, not a siba. In other words, he's really a bad teva since he was 5 years old, and his mommy allowed him to do everything he wants. And then what? We never knew. In other words, it's a gilu. If it happens 3 times, that shows that really, right from the start, he really was a Michigan ashore. So it's a chakira, which Reb Tzvi held very, very, very strongly for many reasons. Beautiful, beautiful shira. I missed the shiva days. He says that it's not getting a taste for it. It's really a chazaka. It shows that this was his teva. He proved it from many places, which we'll see later on the Masechta. That's another pshat. You're not saying the same thing. Or there's another pshat of the stipler, possibly, that he gets the taste for it. In other words, it's a developing character. He was really nice until he got into a bad chevra. All the other bulls are hanging around Parkay alone. Leil Shabbos, they smoked drugs, and the bull came along and eventually became worse and worse. Akiva didn't help. Akiva for the Shvarim. The Shvarim section doesn't help him. He's a nice gentleman. He's putting his finger all the time.
I think it's wrong.
What's wrong? A bit more. Second line. What does it mean? The animal is not meant to crouch? What is it? That's how it sits down. That's how it sits. If it crouched over big vessels, which is not so normal, and you see the animal has some weird intention over here, it often shows its place of rest in a very uncomfortable place where someone's pachim gdolim are there. It's like sitting on purpose in order to break it. That's not normal. But if it's small vessels that the animal just crouches because it doesn't notice it, barely noticed it, that's where he walks. A big bull, a big, I don't know, elephant and behema, walks and then crouches, sits down, so to speak, crouches over small ktanim, does small pachim, little vessels, little receptacles, doesn't notice it. It's urchei. And what kind of payment would it be chayiv then? Under what would it fall? Regel! Alan, you took it. Very good. England is the winner. Lema Mesayale. That is Lema Mesayale. That now we'll see Lichoira, a brisa that supports it. A Behema Moedes Lalech Kedalka. Behema, it's normal and expected of a Behema to walk normally. Ulishabel, Ulemayach Sa'odom, Oy Vavoy, to break and to smash. to smash a person, to run over a person, vesa behema, vesa kelim. In other words, if a behema mamash ran over a person, a little kid, so it's considered to be normal for the animal, and if it does it in Rishus Harabim, it's potur. Wow. And if he does it in Rishus Hayochid, it's chayv nizak shalom. So now, what do you mean it's normal to run over a person? If it's a little kid, yes, l'chor, that's what we're saying. If it's a small kli or a small child, the animal didn't see as it was walking or was crouching, the baby didn't see a little kli in a baby. That's called regel, and it's normal for it, and the payment is, adequately. Now, Zog the Gemara, how do you know? Dilma min atzad. You don't know, we don't know if the difference is regarding big or small. Maybe the difference is regarding walking or from the tzad. When it crouches on the thing, on the baby or the kelim and sits on them, maybe it's always considered as vicious keren. Maybe min atzad means it brushes along. The animal walks down this narrow street and the kid or the kelim are crunched there between the animal and the wall. Maybe that's considered as something normal for the animal and not keren, because the baby doesn't see what's happening on the side. That's called part of the regular walk. Some people say, some say just the other way. Don't say that only the big vessels is not normal, but the small vessels is normal and considered as regel. No. Pachin ktanim is not considered normal for the animal. For the animal to walk or to sit on something, it checks the area first, and then it sits down. But even a small kli is not considered as normal. Meisivi, now what we said before as a support becomes a question. We see that sometimes crushing them is considered as normal and regel, not as keren. Yeah, it's not because of gdolim and ktanim. That's not the difference. He was right. Gdolim and ktanim is the same thing when it walks and sits on them. The difference is walking versus brushing from the side. Some ask it as a question. Yeah, do we say lilbutz is normal or it's not normal? Ablaza says the two Mishnahs and Bryces that everybody is amazingly the same, everything is good, and that's halacha. Big vessels, the animal noticed it's sitting there on purpose. It has an agenda. Doesn't like those kelim. It has a bad day-to-day at work. It sits on the big kelim. That's keren. But if it sits on small kelim, that's stam. The animal probably doesn't notice. It doesn't care. It's not stam. It's a small thing. Like you sit on the chair, you don't notice a small piece of paper. You notice a small piece of paper? No. You sit on a chair. Mimela, we say that's considered as what? As regel, which is part of B'shus Harabim, and Chai B'shus Yofi. Thank you very much. Wow, we did the Amud almost. Tomorrow we're going to see about Baldulas with a very interesting Agadata. Stay tuned. Thank you very much. Have a great week.
So, Doctor, thank you very much.